for tomorrow. It's important to know the resources the city has available for anyone who may have an emergency. NOLA.gov website listed on your screen right here highlights first aid stations, places where parents can also look if their child gets lost.
My daddy was drafted into the army. That's why he had the uniform on. That's Mabel Mary Miller and Joseph P. Williams.
And those are your parents?
That's my parents. Mary,
that's you?
Yeah, that's Catherine Arnold. Catherine Williams as a baby. And this is Mabel Mary Miller Williams. And that's Joseph P. Williams. And he was drafted into the army. That's why he has a uniform on. And they had a child, and that's me, about 3 or 4 years old, Catherine Williams.
So when do you think this picture was taken?
Or if they were catching up.
I don't know, we'd have to take the picture out to see it. I would say somewhere at
51% of the votes, more than
42,000 votes. I was born in 41, so I was in 1943.
Wow. So he was in World War II? Or
World War II, yeah.
Did he fight? Or?
No, they drafted him into the army when they were drafting a lot of people into the army. And so he was drafted into the army, and my mother was at home, and
everyone is trying to get their last piece of king cake.
And she was at home with the baby. That was me. Well, I wasn't a baby on that picture, but I was about 2 or 3 years old.
Dang. So this is in New Orleans?
There you have it.
What part of New Orleans?
2022 King of Cake champion.
I want to say the 6th ward, but you don't know where that is. Do you know where St. Peter Claver Church is?
No, Mommy, do you know where that is?
But that's around
That's the church we went to Mass for Christmas when we King Christmas the last time we could have St. Peter Claver Church.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's called the 6th ward, where they lived in the 6th ward, and their parish church was St. Peter Claver. I don't know if you were down here for Jay's wedding. No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't alive.
Anyway, that's where, that's the school that I went to, St. Peter Claver, and Ari went there also. And Jay and Idell belong to that church parish, St. Peter Claver. So they come from across the river to go to Mass at St. Peter Claver. That's their parish church. And Ari and Mola and Lester, they all went to school there. Well, they didn't go to school there, but they're in religious class. And so they're still affiliated with the parish of St. Peter Claver. And I don't know if it's because I attended St. Peter Claver or what. But Jade still is affiliated with the parish of St. Peter Claver. And St. Peter Claver was a missionary who devoted his life to the black slave. Yeah, and I think that's why the parish was named after St. Peter Claver, because he was a missionary and he devoted his life to the slaves. You can look it up in your book to see it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why the parish gave, it was named St. Peter Claver, because they didn't forget.
Did you know like anything about like your grandparents?
Yes, I do. My grandparents. My grandmother was John William, John Raphael Miller. Yes. And my grandfather was George Miller. My grandmother, they said, her parents were mulattoes. They were part white and part black. And my grandmother had long, wavy black hair. And she looked like she was a mulatto, mixed breed.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather, George, had black wavy hair. He was a truck driver from the river. The truck imported, they brought food off of the ships into the areas of New Orleans. My grandmother was a housewife, and she was a pretty Creole looking lady with pretty long black hair. My grandfather had black wavy hair, but it was always cut like for a man. It was short. My grandmother died when I was about 8 years old. I don't know exactly, but she died first. And my grandfather lived with my aunt, and he later died at her house.
Did they ever tell you stories? Did they ever tell you, your grandparents ever tell you stories about like anything?
Not that I can remember. My mother told me stories.
What kind of stories?
Let me think.
To be a survivor with metastatic breast cancer, ask for
Trying to think. I know my mother told a lot of stories, but I'm trying to remember what she said. It'll come to me when I remember it. But my mother told me a lot of stories, and
so right now that's right.
I can't think of it right now. Just give me time, it'll come to my mind.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I'll remember what she said. And she named me after Catherine, who was an Indian girl, and she was intrigued by excuse me.
Oh, no worries.
The story of Catherine, who was a pretty Indian girl, and she chose the name of Catherine. Trying to get the reading.
That's all good.
Yeah, I didn't get out. I couldn't find it.
Her name was really Tekawik. I don't know if you have heard that name before, Tekawitha. And in English, Tekawitha meant Catherine. And so
it was a Native American name.
Oh yeah, I have a picture of her. You take a picture. Oh wait.
Do you know where it is?
I'm going to give you a come back anytime.
I wish I could get that picture of the Indian Tekawitha. And she was Iroquois, and I think it was Iroquois Indian. And my mother was fascinated with the beauty of this girl because she was a pretty Indian girl. So when she had her firstborn, who happened to be a girl, she didn't want to say Tekawitha, but she knew that it meant Catherine, and that's how I got the name.
Do you know if there was any relation to Native Americans, or was it just she was fascinated by the culture?
I think there was a relationship between the black slave and the Indians, but I'm not sure about the story of that. But and that's why they have a fascination with the Indians at Mardi Gras. Have you seen the Indians at Mardi Gras? Because it goes back to that time when the Indians and the black slaves lived together. And I can't, I don't remember all that she said about the Indians. They used to go to the same grocery or get food from the same area as the Indians did. They've had, unless my mother was growing up, there really weren't that many groceries. And so you had to go to the marketplaces to get your food. And later on, you know, as time went on, there were, as time went on, they were able to grocery stores where you could go buy your food. But as my mother was growing up, they basically didn't have grocery stores. It was just going to the marketplace to get it. And one street where they would go to was St. Rose of Lima Church, in the area of St. Rose of Lima Church. They had a marketplace there. You're making me scratch my memory.
Sorry.
This goes way back. And I'm trying to remember what my mother told me as a child.
You can tell your own story. What was it like growing up in New Orleans?
Growing up in New Orleans, I had a pleasant, I grew up in New Orleans, and my mother wanted me to have a Catholic education because the Orleans Church Catholic. So I was placed in Catholic school along with my other siblings. And I went to St. Peter Claver School and church. I was baptized there. And let me tell you this incident. I lived in the project. You know what the project is?
Yeah.
I didn't consider myself poor until I got to high school, college. And I said, oh, well really I was in the poor class. But growing up, I didn't realize that we were poor, or that we were not, well I knew we weren't wealthy, but I would never had that stigma of being poor. But I was going at a grocery on the corner across the street from the project where we lived. And so my mother sent me to the grocery store to get something. And so I went and I got it. And I guess she was trying to show me that I was old enough to do that. And so as I was crossing the neutral ground, you know what the neutral ground is? It's a land that goes from one end of the street to the other end.
Oh, okay.
And so as I was crossing the neutral ground to come back with something I had bought at the corner grocery, and as I crossed the street, there were some shots that were from shooting, but I was unaware of it. And so when I got back home, everybody came to me, are you hurt? Are you hurt? I said, no, I'm not hurt, because I didn't know what was going on. And she said, because the FBI was after some dope dealers who lived in the project, and apparently once someone told me that they lived in the unit where we lived, and so I can't continue to go home not knowing what's going on. And my mother and the neighbors came out to see if I was shot. I said, no, I'm all right. And because they saw what was going on. the FBI was chasing them of the drug deal, and they checked me out to see if I had any wound. Well, I didn't have any wounds, but to see if I had any bullets that passed by me or whatever. And so my mother told me that story, and I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. And the neighbors, all of them came out to see if I was been hurt, because they knew that there was a shooting, and she said it was the shooting of the FBI, and it was after some drug deal. And I knew the family where the drug dealers were. When they told me that Miss So and So, that's her family, the Chase and her son.
That's not enough sometimes.
So I said, oh, I'm lucky to be here, because had one of those FBI persons been good with a
gun.
I may not be here today. And so,
How old were you? Around.
LJ, how old are we?
80. You're 80 and I'm 81. You'll be 81.
How old am I now?
80.
No, you are 80. 80. Wait, girl, this is a true story. You're messing me up. At the time this happened, I was about 4 years old. I was about 8 years old.
8 years old.
Oh, younger than that. I'll say 6 years old, maybe. So, so that goes on the excitement in my life, because, and this is a true story, because my mother told it to me. And my mother didn't lie to us, I believe her. And the neighbors in the project where we live could verify that. And I said, today, if a policeman or FBI go shooting, they would watch people on neighbors on the street, and it would not just at random start firing it. I don't know. Would you say they would fire at a gun?
No, they were trying to be safe.
That's it. Yeah. But at that time, and I was a little black girl, so they didn't care.
When you were growing up, did you like go to church regularly?
Every Sunday. And we had to dress, or a dress. The men wore a suit. We dressed to go to church, not like they do today. No, you had to dress. And my husband paid. I don't think he had to wear a suit, but what did you wear when you were growing up? When you were growing up, what did you wear to church?
Oh, no, you didn't have to dress. Sports shirt and no jeans, though. Sports shirt and a pair of shorts.
I'm talking about 40 years ago.
40, well, that's what I'm saying, 50 years ago.
When you were growing up, I think she
When you were
got.
growing up, you didn't just wear, didn't you have to wear,
Just a regular shirt and pants, Cal. You know, we didn't dress to go to church. We didn't have to dress to go to church.
You grew up in New Orleans too, right?
Yep.
Which part in New Orleans?
The 7th floor.
So she was the 6th and you were the 7th?
Yeah, because she was from St. Peter Claver Parish, and I was from Corpus Christi Parish.
So people would go to church depending on what area
Right.
in the city.
And then when we were going at that time, the 7th Ward predominantly Catholic, black Catholic. Must have had about 10 churches in that area, Catholic, black Catholic churches, you know.
The Baptist church was in it.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Baptist church, but Catholicism was the more predominant religion.
Do you have any idea why that might be, or was it just?
Valley, I'm sorry.
Do you have an idea of why it was Catholicism like in New Orleans?
That's just the area, like I said, mostly, and a lot of, it was a prominent area.
Yeah.
You know, Corpus Christi, Epiphany, and St. Peter Clay.
When did you guys meet? Like, when did you guys meet? When did y'all meet?
Oh, we met in we were married in 1960. We met in 1964.
How?
Well, I remember we were sitting on my porch with some friends. We always did meet at my house. We'd sit on eat tamales and drink beer. And then one time, one of the saw her going. She was friends with the lady right across the street from where I live. And then one of the fellas, one friend said, "Hey, are you gonna marry that lady?" And he was right about that. And everything happened so fast. We met and then went out and we were engaged. I think we met in September of 64. We were married in February of 1965. So everything, even Michelle was born the same year. Our first child was born the same year we were married. But everything happened so fast for us.
That's a trip.
Today's standards, the marriage would not have lasted.
So how long have you guys been married for now?
57 years.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Has it felt like 57 years?
No.
I said, has it felt like 57 years?
Not really, no. It's just been a long time. And before I got married, I used to pray. I had a lot of friends who got married before I did. And I just asked God to send me a good husband who would be a good father. And he answered my prayer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 81 years old. And what else?
You didn't. I see you have a picture here.
Yeah. Well, this is a picture of.
It's okay.
What, yeah? What's the matter? Wait, cut it off. You haven't cut off?
No, you can talk.
What's wrong?
I think she just. It's been 80 years.
What's the matter? You okay, Catherine? Okay. This is a picture of my mother, myself, and my cousin. We were just like. We were just like brothers. We grew up together. And then. This is a picture of my dad and Leslie, my daughter, and who else? That's both. Both of them are Leslie, and it's my daddy.
And that's your dad. What was his name?
Leslie was Leslie Senior.
Leslie was born on the same day as Papa.
Oh yeah, their birthdays the same day.
After Leslie.
Oh wow.
February 6th.
And my daddy was a pharmacist, and my mother was a teacher. And my daddy was one of the first graduates from Xavier University College of Pharmacy.
Is that where you went?
That's where I went, Grandma went, Aunt Michelle went, and Aunt Stephanie went.
And I went for one semester. I went to Southern, but I only went to Xavier one semester.
What was your experience growing up in New Orleans?
I'm sorry, what?
What was your experience growing up in the city?
Well, back then we didn't have that many places to go to because of segregation. We went to different schools, the blacks and the whites would go to the same school.
Different theaters. And
one part would be for whites and one part would be for blacks. We couldn't go to the library because
White library.
we couldn't go to the library. And then when we were able to go to the library, we had to drink out of the faucets, and we didn't have a cold water. What do you call it? Water
fountain.
Water fountain.
Yeah.
And they would have the sign colored white.
Yeah. We were colored back then.
He said Negro. Was it was color? Color?
But
When
it
did
was all
things?
right, though, I mean, we were used to back then. We were
Yeah.
used to, we didn't have any problems. Never had any problems. We had, and then New Orleans back then, a lot of neighborhoods were mixed. It wasn't, we had white neighbors got along fine. For some areas, it's just some areas all black and other areas all. We lived in a mixed area.
What was it like when things started to change? When things started to change, like when schools were being desegregated,
That was after Dr. King got shot.
and when like you could, the fountains no longer had colored, and you could go on bus. What was that like? Was there like, did you notice that? Was the change big or?
Oh yeah, it was a big change. In fact, before we got married, there was some most of the restaurants were segregated. I remember we wanted to go to a restaurant one time, and well, back then we were colored, and they said we don't serve colored people.
12 minutes now.
Yeah, that was a way of life back then, so we accepted it. But now it's so different. It's a lot different, but it still exists. Still have a lot of prejudice. It's not. I guess it'll always be. It's not as bad as it was when we were coming up.
How would it like feel? Like, did you think anything of it when you would see like, oh, colored only, or was it just?
I'm sorry.
Like when you would see signs like saying like colored only, or if you weren't allowed into a restaurant, what would be the feeling? Would it just be?
I mean,
it was just what it was.
Then it was just time. It didn't, we accepted it. Didn't, being brought up. That's the way it was.
And even when you go to church, there would be a section for white and a section for colored people. So it was just a way of life, and we accepted it because we didn't know any better. We didn't think any better with it. And that's why I keep saying it was Dr. King who brought all of this, started the change. And I'm wondering what would have happened if he had not started the change. But we accepted that, and we just didn't know any better at the time. But when he questioned